Well, here we are at last in Jerusalem. It has been an amazing journey, and if you could have seen all of the people that were here, excited and joyful, when he entered the gate on a donkey, the people went wild. They were filled with such joy, such gladness. They were overwhelmed, and they started jumping up and shouting, "Hosanna, Hosanna, blessed is he, the King of Israel." It was an amazing time, for we knew that something big was on the verge of happening. We could feel it in our bones, for we knew the effect that this man had had on each and every one of us. And as we were gathered here in Jerusalem, we knew that Jerusalem was soon to be changed. We knew that it would never be the same now. And once Jerusalem was changed, the world was next. Now you may be wondering who I am. I am Mary, and I grew up in the town of Magdala, which was near Cana. I have traveled here with my Rabboni, Jesus, and all of his followers. And yes, I am here for Passover, of course. But most importantly, I am here to speak of the man that I so dearly love. You will hear me tell my story today, and you will hear others tell their stories as well, for we all have so much to say. You see, each and every one of us have been changed. Each and every one of us is different now. We are no longer who we were before. I was thinking about those early days of the Passover celebration, and I was filled with such joy. I'll tell you, they are a bit of a blur to me. There was so much that was happening, and the love was resplendent. It was all so great, and every moment of it will always remain in my heart, even long after the final times. I remember that night when the soldiers came and they took him away. The next morning, his mother Mary and her sister and some others and I, we all gathered on the hill. And we were there, so helpless. And we felt so hopeless. There was nothing that we could do. And I looked around and I wondered, where was Matthew? Where was Peter? Where were they? Where were the others? And so we just stood there until the sun set, watching the man that we loved be crucified. It is a sight I will never forget. But there is something more that I want you to know. You see, Jesus was there. He was on that cross. And in the midst of his pain, and in his agony, and in his horrendous suffering, he spoke. He spoke words of love. He spoke words of truth. He spoke to the man beside him. And he spoke. He spoke to his mother words of comfort, words of love in the midst of all that pain. He spoke.
I wish I had known him. In many ways, I feel as though I did, even though we never met. Who am I, you ask? My name would hold no significance to you. I'm simply one of the many who stood at the foot of the cross and watched as this man of whom we speak breathed his last and left this life. You may wonder what kind of a person would attend such an event, and I can assure you it was not my custom to do so. You see, this was actually the first time I'd ever even been to the Place of Skulls. Crucifixions are quite common in this land, and there are those among my friends who find the drama and the pain somehow entertaining. But this is not my way. In part, I suppose, because it would be unseemly for a woman of my status to do such a thing. You see, my husband is a man of some station, and as his wife, I have certain responsibilities. I've always lived well, and I've never wanted for any material thing, but for a very long time, I've had a hunger in my heart to know a deeper way to live, a deeper way to be. And when I heard my servants talking about this teacher, this Jesus, I felt a spark ignite within me. Oh, how I yearned to follow the crowds then, to sit at his feet on the hillside or by the sea. But I was too afraid. I was afraid of what people would think if they saw me. So I stayed home. And then I heard my servants talking about the trial and of the events and the hanging that was taking place even today, and suddenly I found myself running through the streets without care for the consequences. But by the time I got there, it was too late. The Romans had already crucified Jesus, and he was nearing death. And as I stood there among the crowd, peering up at him through a veil of tears, he lifted his head just for a moment, and his eyes met mine. And in that instant, time stood still. And we were alone, just the two of us. And incredibly, I could feel these waves of compassion and love coming to me from him. And it was like we were one. And I could hear him speaking. And he said to me, "My child, do not pity me or think harshly of the events that you've seen here. Suffering is not my legacy. Instead, remember the teachings that I've tried to impart on all people about loving one another and helping each other. This is my true inheritance to you. With love comes joy, and with joy, freedom. Forgive and release those who, in their ignorance of the law of love, have mistreated me, as I've forgiven them. It's only through forgiveness that you can truly live life, know peace in your heart, and rejoice in the truth. So whether you're a man, a woman, a slave, or a king, go. Share my message with everyone you meet. Love and help wherever you can, for the Christ is truly in everyone. And remember my teaching, for you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free."
Does it seem odd that I, a publican, a tax collector, should have known Jesus? Does it seem odd that Jesus should share food and fellowship with me and my kind? We publicans are hated, you know. And perhaps it's not without cause. We collect the tolls for Caesar and tend to not be very honest. I guess I understand how it feels to be under the rule of Rome and to be forced to pay so much to a human king. But that's not what I'm here to talk about today. I want to talk about the time Jesus broke bread in my presence. You see, we were gathered around sharing food when all of a sudden this village lad came running up to us, breathless with excitement. He shouted, "He's coming here! He's coming here!" "Who's coming here?" we asked. "Jesus, the man from Galilee! He's coming here!" "He's coming here?" Well, we couldn't believe our ears. So we ran out into the courtyard, looked off in the distance to see if our eyes could verify the story we were being told. And lo and behold, there was Jesus coming with our brother Zacchaeus. Evidently, Zacchaeus had climbed a tree just to better see and hear what Jesus was addressing the crowds. When he looked up and saw Zacchaeus in the tree and said, to Zacchaeus' amazement, "Come down from there, Zacchaeus. I'm going to have dinner with you today." Can you imagine the murmuring of the crowd? He eats with tax collectors and sinners. What does it mean? Well, we gathered around and he shared our food and drink. And he talked with us. We talked. Oh, how we talked. And he taught. But somehow, it didn't seem like teaching. It seemed more like talking to an old friend. And we laughed. Oh, how he laughed when someone told an old tale. Several of us decided to follow him after that. Zacchaeus even promised to restore fourfold to anyone he had deceived. And I still listen to hear word of him. And I remember, I'll always remember the warmth in his touch when he greeted me. The caring in his voice when he said, "It's not those who are well that need physicians, rather those who are sick." And I'll remember how his eyes lit up when he laughed. I'll always remember how he laughed.
I remembered the day. It was hot, it was dry, the road was dusty. I heard the murmuring of the crowd. Remember that day they spoke of a man named Jesus. I'd heard of him, but I'd never been in his presence. I had never seen him, for I was blind. From the day I was born, I was blind. Within my heart that I knew that someday I would see. I didn't know how, I didn't know when, but something inside me told me it was the truth. Little did I know that was the day. Little did I know that he was the one. I could feel his presence. It was nothing that he said or anything he did, but I knew he was near. There was a force at work, a force I can't explain, but it was drawing him to me as it was drawing me to him. Before he spoke to me or touched me, I felt a warmth. It was like the warmth of a fire, comforting and reassuring. I felt like a babe in his mother's arms. His voice was soft and gentle. I felt at peace. I felt the coolness of the clay that he rubbed over my eyelids was comforting and soothing. I didn't ask why he was doing it. I just followed his words and actions. When he told me to go wash the clay from my eyes, I did as he said, not knowing why. When I washed away the clay, how can I describe what my eyes revealed? There was light and dark. I could see the blue of the sky and the gold of the sun. My hands moved in front of my face like puppets. I tried to convince myself that what I felt and what I saw were part of the same world. I could see. What a thrill. What glory came to me and what glory came through him. I will never forget him. His light is deep within my heart.
Brothers, sisters, listen to me. I have something to tell you, something that you must hear. He lives. I tell you, I saw him, and he spoke my name. He lives. Remember the time when he said that we would follow him. He said, "Follow me in my words and my actions, and if you do, you will be the light of the world." You are needed in this way. And at first, we didn't understand, we didn't believe, but we learned. And then, do you remember, not long ago, he said, the Son of Man will soon be given up into the power of men, and he will be killed, but on the third day he will rise again. And when we heard those words, again, we didn't understand them, and certainly we didn't believe them, but I tell you, Jesus has spoken the truth. These are words of truth. I was thinking about that third morning, and I was missing Jesus so, just like so many others. We were so overcome with grief and sorrow. There was nothing we knew how to do. There was nowhere to go. And so I did the only thing that I could do. I went to his tomb. And when I got there, I saw that the stone had been rolled away. It was so strange. So I looked around, and then I decided to creep in. And I went inside the tomb, and there, to my surprise, was a figure in white that was sitting there. And the one said to me, "Do not be afraid. But if you are looking for Jesus of Nazareth, if you are looking for the one who was crucified, he is not here. Look around. You will not see him." So I did. I looked around and I looked. And now, not only was I filled with grief, but I was confused. Where was he? I didn't understand it. And I fell to the ground, crying and crying. And I couldn't breathe. And so I thought, let me go out into the garden and try to find some peace. So I stumbled my way out there, and there was a man on the path. And he spoke to me, and he said, "Woman, why are you weeping?" And I said, "Sir, they have taken my Lord, and I don't know where they have laid him. But if you're the one who removed him, would you please tell me where he is?" And the man, he spoke again. And he said, "Mary." And I turned around and I looked into the eyes of the one that I love. It was Jesus. And I saw his face. And it was the face of Jesus. And I felt him. I felt his presence. You know, it's that presence that healed me. It's that presence that changed me. Well, some time has passed, and I remember his words when he said, "I will never leave you. I will never forsake you." And I didn't understand those words. And in those days when he was first gone, all I could feel was how alone I was. But I understand now. I understand that he lives. And even though his body does not walk among us, he lives, I tell you. He lives through us, as the light of the world. I tell you, Jesus, he lives.